In the co-main event, prior to this fight, I had said that I believed that Chris Weidman would win the fight. My reasoning for it was I felt that he would be able to get the takedown on Mousasi, and then once he got him down, he'd be able to use his passing game, work to a stronger position, and either win by ground and pound or by some sort of submission. In the first round, he was pretty effective in getting his takedowns. He was able to reach down and grab Mousasi's leg for a single, switch to a double if he needed to. First time he got him down, passed the guard, got into a good position, but then Mousasi scrambled out, got back to the feet. And it seemed like every successive time he went for a takedown, it was a little bit sloppier and a little bit slower and a little bit less effective. He did get a couple more takedowns, but you could definitely see that he was tiring. It's unclear whether it was an adrenaline thing or what exactly it was for him, but by the end of the first round, you were kind of wondering if Weidman's got to go another 10 minutes, how strong is he going to be by the end of it? Second round comes around. Again, he's able to get Mousasi down actually towards the middle or I guess towards the end of the round, which ended up being stopped early. He did get a takedown, got to mount, was looking to finish, actually had the back for a second, but Mousasi was able to scramble out again, got back to his feet. And then the fight ended in a very just disappointing and obviously controversial, and I don't feel that they got it right at all. So Mousasi had Weidman in a position where it was a bit of a headlock type of spot. Weidman was kind of playing the game where he's got his hands down on the mat, threw the first knee. One of the hands was in the air, so that one was legal. The second knee, even on the replay, and they made it seem like this was obvious, but even on the replay, it wasn't all that clear. It looked as though, and again, this is in slow-mo, it was difficult to tell, but especially in real time for Dan Mergliata, it looked as though Chris Weidman had both hands down, all 4 points of contact down, and that was an illegal knee. So Mergliata stepped in and gave Weidman his time to recover from it. Now, important thing to note here, if Dan Mergliata steps, let's just pretend that Mergliata thought this was a legal knee, and he steps in to stop the fight right there. That is a terrible stoppage. Okay, on that second knee, Weidman was still on his feet. He didn't crumble down. He was still actively defending himself. That's not a time to stop the fight. And I don't believe that Mergliata had any intention to stop the fight, thinking that it was over at that point anyway. That's important to note because when this fight is over, when it was called, that essentially is the final strike that the fight was called on. Since the fight was stopped, it was essentially stopped after that second knee when Weidman still had his posture about him, when he still had his feet underneath him, and everything was going. But again, ref jumps in and says, okay, it's illegal. We're going to give you time to recover. Now, again, this happened earlier in the card. I don't remember which fight it was on, where a fighter took a shot that was a high leg kick. He reached down, grabbed his cup to indicate that he was injured, or that he had taken a nut shot, was starting to kind of collapse a little bit too. Ref said fight on. He stood back up, kept fighting, and everything went along as normal. It's important to note that because a lot of times fighters, they'll be hurt, but they'll have to fight through it, or they'll just kind of have to put on a face like they're okay and just keep working through it and get through it. But if you say, hey, it's okay, you can stop, just take your time, they'll stop and they'll take their time. And especially in Chris Weidman's case, where, like I said, he was tired in the first round, and he was doing a lot better when he had more energy. If you're Chris Weidman and you're being told, hey, you can have a few minutes here, I guess not necessarily catch your breath, but get your wits about you, it makes perfect sense that Weidman would be like, oh, okay, I'll get my wits about me. The ref stepped in and said this was okay. This isn't the stop to the fight. This is just a pause because of an illegal knee. So Weidman was taking his time. He was trying to catch his breath, and that's completely understandable. Now, granted, if let's just pretend that this was a legal knee, and again, I'd have to watch the replay again. It really looked like his hand started to come up after contact was made on the knee, on the second knee. To me, it still looks like it might have been an illegal knee, but regardless, I don't think that really changes the outcome here or how it should be perceived. Because again, in the state of New York, there is no replay. So even if they go back to replay and find that they had the wrong call, they still have to go by the ref's call, and that's the problem here. The ref made the call that it was an illegal knee, so you have to go by that. And they were asking Weidman, are you going to be able to fight? And you could actually hear him on the pay-per-view. He was saying, yes, I'll keep fighting. But then the commission came in and stopped the fight anyway. So Weidman, he could have kept fighting. Yes, he probably played a little bit of possum just to catch his breath and use the time to recover, but that time was given to him. You can't just give him that time and then say, oh, well, you took it, so sorry, now you lose. That's not how it works here. So the fact that that's what happened, that's just an absolute joke. I think Weidman, because of the fact that we know that the rules were not properly interpreted here, there's a chance that he may be able to go back and get this overturned to a no contest. To be quite honest, that'd probably be the fairest way to go about it. Mousasi, yes, he did land a couple hard shots there, but it's not like Mousasi ever looked like he was about to win that fight. He did have a strong flurry in the start of the second, but outside of that, I mean, to give him the win on that doesn't really seem quite right. And then obviously Weidman had plenty of times when he looked strong. I would give him the first round for sure. The second round, it looked like he was starting to go in his direction, especially after he was able to get the takedown and get to mount and work from there. So to take that away from Weidman is completely unfair. If you're going to make the call that it was an illegal knee, which it may still have been, but regardless, if you're going to make that call, there is no instant replay. There's nothing in place to kind of change this around. You have to go with the initial call. If you're going to say, hey, look, Chris, on review, and again, you don't have the review, but even if they said, hey, look, on review, we realized that the knee was legal. Are you going to continue now, or are we going to have to stop this fight? Weidman would have said yes. He would have kept going, and it sounds like he was saying yes anyway. So to stop this fight on him, this isn't Chris Weidman's fault. Chris Weidman was defending himself when the fight was still going. When the ref said that the fight was stopped, that's when he took his time to recover. There's nothing wrong with what Weidman did, and for him to take a loss here is absolutely ridiculous, and it needs to get fixed immediately.